Hi, it's Christine with Moonshine Safari and
Anthony with Moonshine Safari.
woohoo! And we are up to chapter 7 in the book Outlander.
Yay.
And last week, where we left off in chapter 6, Claire had gone to have lunch with Jamie in the horse paddock. And the whole purpose was she was going to be taking off his bandages. Mm-hmm. And she forgot and left and didn't change his bandages. Mm-hmm. And she left.
Married woman having lunch with some strange dude in a horse paddock to take his bandages off. Okay.
Well,
keep going.
But she didn't. She forgot.
Have lunch?
No. They had some lunch. Okay.
Anyway.
So after lunch with Jamie in the horse paddock, she heads back to the castle. One of Colm's men comes and asks if she could go and meet himself. So Colm is very friendly, and he basically tells her that Dougal and Mrs. Fitz have said that she's really good at healing. She's self-deprecating, but he tells her that he's heard of her skills. Basically, not just the fact that she can heal, but the fact that she can heal in the dark on the side of the road when a lot of people would find it difficult. Claire's like, she can't really tell him this, but the fact of the matter is she treated men in a war zone, so this is kind of something that she does know how to do.
Mm-hmm. She also knows how to take your shirt off and touch your scars.
Well, she's a healer. Maybe she was healing the scars. Mm-hmm. Could be that.
Frank who?
That's the common refrain. Colm asks her, are you connected to Clan Beaton? Apparently the Beatons are well-known healers in the Highlands, and she didn't even really know what that meant at first. Mrs. Fitz had asked her the same thing, and she said, well, no, not really.
I don't know, Beaton and Beecham.
That's true.
If you say it pretty quick, it sounds like, depends on your dialect, and if you, I don't know, Beaton and Beecham sound really close.
What if that comes up at some point at the end of the book? That'd be interesting. I never even thought of that.
That's why I'm here.
He's surprised that she's never heard of them. He basically tells her that they're traveling healers even, right? And they're famous, but the one that they had there before, his name was Davy, he died of a fever that took him.
Davy, the traveling healer, died of a fever? Wait,
right.
Davy, the traveling healer, died of a fever.
Exactly.
I bet you they sing a dirge to that. Some kind of song.
Well, supposedly there was also, she's looking through, well, I'll tell you in a minute. Claire says, you know what, Mrs. Fitz is a good healer. I've seen her. And Colm's like, well, yeah, but she kind of has enough to do. She's running the whole castle. And
she's chasing after Jamie. Oh, sorry.
Not Mrs. Fitz,
that's a full-time. Oh, no, the other healer.
Oh, Claire's thinking about Colm. She says he's intimidating, but he's very charming. And he wants to know if she would take a look at the old healers area. He's kind of saying maybe you could help out there. So she goes with him. Colm's man actually says, look, I'll take you there, because it's hard for Colm to walk around and everything. Colm's like, no, I'll take you. He takes her down all the stairs and stuff, because the surgery is way out of sight, tucked behind the kitchens.
I bet that took forever.
Yeah,
she actually going down the steps.
Feels bad for him.
Yeah, that's got to be terrible.
Yeah,
because to jump into the series, the way they portray him, and we looked it up, they do CGI to the actor's legs, but oh my gosh, to try to go down the steps.
Well, yeah, they said that basically it was something that he was born with, probably, but by the age of 18, usually, like the bones start kind of crushing in on themselves because they can't support the weight of the person. So that's why he's
like the bowed legs of the bowed legs.
Exactly. And he looks a lot like Dougal, but that's just from the waist up. You find out a lot more about his backstory later, about him being sick and stuff. Mm-hmm. So he takes her to the surgery. The surgery's tucked out of sight behind the kitchen. It's funny because in the show, Claire and Frank actually visit the room within the ruin of the castle. They don't ever have that scene in the book, but you see them visit the room in the castle. They actually go to the surgery.
That's not where...
Yes. They're naughty.
That's where...
They get naughty. She's probably going to get a UTI in there.
God almighty.
She sees a room with stuff. She's got medicines, and it's got labels and bottles and stuff like that. And when Colm is struggling walking, she just basically tells him, what strong massage can help. He knows, but he's actually a little bit surprised that she knows, because he tells her that there's somebody that actually does his massages at night and it helps out. That kind of impresses him again with her potential healing skills. So she's looking through the supplies, and the labels, a lot of them are weird. She doesn't know what they mean. He offers to have it cleaned. She agrees. So she finds the records of the patients and the treatments from the previous healer. And she finds that really interesting because he was very detailed. He was very methodical about his records. So she's looking through the receipts. She sees the first name, and she asks Colm, did her thumb, I guess it was this person's thumb, did the thumb ever heal? And Colm's like, well, no. And she goes, well, you want me to take a look at it? And he goes, Well, no, she died. There you go. That's how successful the previous healer was. Colum leaves. There's no one around, but she knows she's pretty much being watched. And so she's taking some time to think and remember about the stones and what led up to this. And she's kind of just thinking through what happened in the stones. And she's thinking it almost sounded like there were screams. She doesn't know if it was the screams of the battle that she kind of crossed into. It's within the stones themselves. She feels like...
Well, yeah, because, I mean, wonder if she's hearing sounds going all the way through from the point of time she is all the way through the past to where she lands.
And she's not sure.
A bunch of that stuff.
Right. But there's also an idea that the stones themselves are making noise.
That make noise, right.
So she's just thinking through all of it. She also remembers kind of a physical struggle. She remembers kind of images, almost like it says incomplete thoughts. And she wonders if somehow she didn't choose this time in some weird way. And that's important because you do find out that there is a way to steer at some point, a little bit. They don't have it all down, but... So while she's thinking about this stuff, the girls kind of show up to clean, and she leaves, and she's going to go get something to eat. So guess what she does?
Takes Jamie's shirt off.
Takes lunch to Jamie again.
Well, close. Almost. Step 2 is take Jamie's shirt off.
So they're having lunch. She asks more about him. She can tell that he's educated. She feels like he was very high-born. But he says he's an outlaw, that there's a price on his head. And she asks him why, and he goes, well, murder.
Oh, now he's a bad boy. You know what
He's
that means.
the bad guy.
He's the bad boy.
He says murder, and she goes, well, who? And he kind of starts to tell her a story, but he's like, I didn't kill the person that I'm accused of killing. He didn't ever say he never killed anybody. He just said he didn't kill that person. He said that after he was flogged to within literally an inch of his life, he had some of his friends were able to sneak him out of the jail, and during the escape, a man was shot. It's coincidentally the man that flogged him. But he said he didn't really have anything against this man, and besides, he could barely hold on to the horse as it was when they were escaping. He couldn't have shot the guy. It just wasn't possible. But that's who he's accused of killing. Essentially, he knew he had to stay clear of the English and the watch. That's why he's using a fake name. So that's why nobody ever knows McTavish, but by this time, of course, Claire knows that that's not really his name. She also notices that Jamie has really short cropped hair. Obviously, this is different than the show. In the book, his hair is really oddly cut, and she asks him why, and he says, well, it was shaved by the monks. The back of his head had to be sewed together because he had gotten hit in the head by an axe. She looks at the wound and stuff like that, and she says it looks good, like it looks like it was stitched well, it was taken care of well and stuff. And she asks him if he had headaches, and he goes, yeah. He goes, they used to be really bad. They're not as bad as they were before, but I was blind for a while.
Let me touch your scar on your head now.
Yes. You also eventually will find out, spoiler, once he got hit by this axe, he couldn't hear music anymore. There was something weird happened.
That would stink.
Yeah. And she asked him how it happened. He doesn't really remember. He just said he was in the woods. They're going through these woods, and he thought the blood drops looked like berries on a bush. And then that was it. And he woke up in the abbey, and the monks were taking care of him. And they're disconnected in weird memories because he was given laudanum and stuff like that for obvious reasons.
I'm sure it was Claire's fault.
Probably
Whatever
was.
it probably was.
When Alec is the horse guy, and he comes to get him to go back to work, Alec joins their lunch instead of getting Jamie back to work. He just sits down. He starts to eat a little bit. And he's the master of horse there at Castle Leah.
Horse?
Of horse, whatever.
Just clarifying. Horse.
He's
Make sure you put the S in the right spot.
Not whores.
Right.
Horse.
I was just making sure you put the S in the right spot.
So they're talking horses, and she's kind of bored of that, of course, and so she's kind of dozing off a little bit. They're speaking Gaelic, then they start to talk in English, and they kind of think that she's asleep, so they're just talking. So Alec asks about the gathering and what Jamie's plan is, and Jamie says, I don't know, but I don't see me being able to swear to Clan Mackenzie. I'm not a Mackenzie. And Alec says he's a lot like Black Brian, which is Jamie's dad's nickname. Jamie's surprised that he knew Brian. Alec says, yeah, I was here when Brian and your mom got married, and of course she was considered like the Virgin Mary, and Brian was the worst person ever, and everything was good about her, and he stole her away and all that stuff. He goes, if we go to fight for the Stuarts and you are a Mackenzie, that could go really well for you. You could end up with even more than you have now. And, Jamie's just like, I can't see me doing it. Alex says, well, if you're here, you could even get married. You took a beating for that girl, but her dad's not going to let her marry anyone outside the clan. So maybe it's not a bad thing. And Jamie kind of dismisses that whole thing where he took the beating for Lyra. He says, I did it. I felt sorry for her. That's all there was to it. And Alex says, he doesn't really completely believe him, but he even says, even though Jamie is an outlaw all the women seem to be interested in him, and calls her even the Sassenach wench, meaning Claire, obviously. And Claire decides, okay, I better be awake now. So she wakes up and they chat for a while, and she asks Jamie if she could check his bandages, and Jamie says no, he doesn't want her to check his bandages right now, which she finds odd.
Don't touchy.
But she says okay. So when Claire's kind of just thinking about the scar on Jamie's head, she thinks the shape of the scar and stuff doesn't look like it was an English sword. It looks like it was probably more like a Highlander's axe, which she kind of finds odd, and it is kind of important.
Why? There's a lot of Highlanders up there in the Highlands.
Well, why would he have gotten hit by one of his own people?
You think they all like him? They clearly don't all like him. And his own uncle doesn't really like him that much.
It might have been his own uncle that did it.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, he's threatened by him.
I know.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah. So she goes back to the surgery, and it's all cleaned up, and it's pretty.
And he's pulling women from other decades. How do you think the men feel around him? It's like this dude is yeeting all of the women from...
How would you say that? Other centuries.
Centuries, yeah. That boy's got some pull. Just take his shirt off.
Okay, so she's back in the surgery. She sees lots of crazy recipes. A lot of them have horse dung in them, which is lovely. A lot of them have wood lice. Something like that. She also opens up a chest where it stinks, and it's because there's a bunch of like saws and blades and stuff like that just have blood all over them because they felt the need to clean them. And she's like, you can clean them, you can boil them, and then they can have them for the construction people because I don't need them. She considers using cobwebs for bandages because they stick, and she likes that idea, but she's not sure if there's a good way to disinfect them. She's considering steaming them. She's just going over all of this. That's kind of how chapter 7 ends. You're essentially at the end of episode 2 when chapter 7 ends. Of course, not everything's perfectly across, but you are essentially at the end of episode 2. What? Did I miss anything?
No, I'm just thinking about if a spider's web comes out its butt, is it sterile?
Well, she's not sure. But she doesn't throw them away either because, like I said, her idea is what if you can sterilize
then if you
them
get a bunch of spiders and catch them like right after
right when they're actually
make
making
their
webs,
and then get it before it has a bunch of bug remnants in it.
Well, I mean, it's a cool idea if you think about it. It's natural. As long as it's not... Would there be any spider venom in the webs?
No, I wouldn't think so, no.
So as long as there's nothing like that in them, if you could bandage with something like that, I mean, it would be a cool idea. I don't know.
That's Frodo.
Yeah, that's true.
Frodo knows.
Frodo knows. Well, that's chapter 7, and next up on the hit parade is going to be episode 2, since this is kind of where it breaks. And like I said, there's some crossover. Of course, it's not perfect, but this is about where episode 2 will start and end.
There we go.
So I hope you guys are enjoying it, and we will check in with you on episode 2. Talk to you
Yeah,
later.
and I really don't hate Claire that much. See y'all next time. Bye.
Bye.